I swear I'm not turning into a drama channel again, guys. Anyway, Idubbbz made a content cop. And the last time Idubbbz made a content cop, I was learning how to walk and pooping in diapers. And now I am living in an adult care facility because I can barely walk and I poop in diapers. Anyways, I left that as a comment on his video. People seem to like it. I wanted to share it here if you didn't get a chance to see it on his video. Anyway, so one of the reasons why I'm making a video about this is, one, Idubbbz made a content cop, and content cop was admittedly myself. I said one of my favorite series of anythings that has been on the internet, and it was about a person that I've been following pretty much as long as I have Ian, Idubbbz, well over 10, 12 years now with H3 or Ethan Klein. And I feel like I know as much of the story as a lot of both fans, hardcore fan bases, and I just want to give my honest reflection on things here. Anyway, to set the record straight with everything of how I feel about these two individuals now, Ian and Ethan. I feel they both have had tremendous falls from grace. I no longer consider their content must watch like I used to. I loved all the things that Ethan and Gila did with H3 Productions back in the day, exposing fake YouTubers, kissing pranks, stuff like all that corny shit that they went after. I loved watching every single person they go after because it would be stuff I'd never go out of my way to actually watch myself and hear them encapsulate what these scumbags of the internet do and burn them to the ground. Anyways, proverbially, figuratively. But Ian, Idubbbz would do the same things, only in these video essay diaries, whatever you want to call them, just these big compilation collection dissections, and they were great. These content cop videos were great. They were so well put together, so well thought out, had so many poignant points. They were so interesting. They were fun to watch. They were funny. They were all of that. But here we are now. H3, and specifically Ethan Klein, has turned into a very politically motivated individual. He doesn't go after the kissing prank people anymore now. He has mainly a podcast where stuff will be briefly mentioned, but it'll never be a primary focus of an entire episode like what you would see with the H3 content. To where Idubbbz now has become just a shell of a human being. And let's just talk about the elephant in the room, which is the relationship he has with his wife, Anisa. Anyone from the outside looking in, and you could say this opinion is completely false, but that woman has changed his effing life for the worse. Worse from our viewers' sake. I mean, I can't speak, and I won't dare to speak of how he feels personally. He may be happier than ever at any point in his life, and he probably is. So I'm not going to attack things from that end. But as far as a content creation point of view wise, it's worse. As far as what his fans see. Because you could take it, like, say how, like, he has that podcast he does with his wife, the My Wife Ruined My Life podcast, that even he admittedly said in the latest content cop from yesterday that he only gets like 3,000 views per podcast and stuff like that. And like just saying that is admittance of, like, you know, a fall from grace. But he even mentioned how, like, you know, he'd rather talk about the vampires kissing because he wants to, and just corny shit like that. But he finds interesting, which is kind of like, I'd be a hypocrite if I ripped him apart for that, because it's kind of like what I became here. I didn't want to do the whole Let's All Laugh at Fanboy Comments volume 837, 838, and AVGN video volume 5, section 76. Like, you know, I understand that. I wanted to be the guy that just turned on the camera, take a couple months off, which is what I've done in the past. I know my audience has dwindled because of it, that I get views similar to what Idubbbz sees on his podcast. I get that. And I'm not in any way correlating that I've had any sort of amount of success that on this website that Idubbbz has. I'm just saying here, I have gotten to a state myself where I just want to create whatever I want, whenever I want. And if I want to take a month or 2 or 3 or sometimes even 4 months off like I have in the past, so be it. If my audience suffers from it, so be it. You know, if they want me to keep making videos about James Rolfe and laughing at fanboy comments, I hear you, but it's not what I want to do anymore. At least as much on the reg. Because I tell you, oh man, I'm getting really close to making a Let's All Laugh at Fanboy Comments video on Karl Jobst, but oh, I want to wait for that video to come out and see what zany comments come for that. So just maybe a slight teaser of an old Archfiend relic being pulled out from the past. So anyways, that's where I'm at with these two guys. I feel both guys, and that's the thing that kills me is these are two guys that I've loved their content. I was raised up here on the internet, like not raised. I was obviously like in my late 20s when I first came out here on YouTube, and now I'm 85 years old. I love these guys for their content, and I just sit there and I watch such a good thing. It's kind of like with Boogie 2988. I see what a good thing they have going, and they just ruin it. Like it's ruining. It's not fully ruined yet, but it is ruining, and I just don't see how you get out of the death spiral at this point. And it's a shame because again, I love the work that these guys did, and to see them, like, you know, Ethan's just so motivated to be this political analyst and have that be not the full crux of his content, but it is so much more of his content when you barely saw any of that bleed into his content some years ago. Like, I don't honestly think I've heard a genuine, like, political drawn out video from him till Donald Trump won his first time in office 8 years ago. And, you know, that was after Ethan had, you know, almost 10 years of content on this website at that point. You know, he made a full video saying, like, you know, hey, let's give Trump a chance. I believe in democracy and all this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's a respectable video about, you know, politics and stuff. But then it just really turned into something else. And it just wasn't the same thing anymore. It just wasn't the same thing anymore. And whatever, like Ian and Idubbbz, well, the same person, Ian, Idubbbz, Ethan is doing what he wants to do. Gila's doing what they want to do. But again, I see, like, you know, Idubbbz had such a good thing with Content Cop. People were getting tired of it. People were yearning for more. But Anisa came along, and all of a sudden, his whole way of life changed. I mean, what else can you blame other than her? And I'm focusing on her specifically because I look at that Content Cop that came out yesterday, and I go, would this video have been made if Anisa wasn't in the equation? Like, I mean, take out any variable, like, you know, relating her directly in that video, and just say, you know, hey, would Idubbbz make this video if, you know, his wife wasn't personal friends with the individuals that Ethan had a problem with and went after, that is seen as bullying, etc.? And I honestly feel the answer is no. But I also say, would Ian have made that video if there wasn't another creator clash coming up? Like, if there wasn't, like, you know, hey, I need some extra ounce of popularity to help sell tickets. Would Ian have made that video if there wasn't a creator clash several months away? I don't know. I don't think he would have. I really don't think he would have. If going on the premise of he buried this, because to unearth this series of videos that is so acclaimed in internet lore, to go after a friend, and I had many problems with Ian's video in that it was lifeless compared to previous Content Cops, but the lifelessness aside, the lack of edgy humor aside that other Content Cops had before this, is he's bringing this back to go after a friend, and a friend that happens to be Jewish, that used to live in Israel, who's married to an Israeli. And I also wonder, the third question I had of would Ian have made this video is, would he have made this video if the turning of the tide against the state of Israel wasn't what it is today? I don't know. It's just something to think about. Just something to think about. Because it is a convenient target to go after someone with a direct tie to Israel through marriage, through being Jewish, even though he is, I mean, he's second guessing as God as the next man. I don't think he's any bit of a devout Jew as any of many other people that people want to target out there. But that point aside, it's just disheartening that Ian is choosing to resurface, re-earth this production gem that he made popular for year after year after year to go after a friend. And that point going into one of my biggest critiques of Ian's video, Ian's Content Cop, is why didn't he spell out better how good of friends they were? And that's a lot of what Ethan's argument was as to why he was going after Denims and Hassan and all these other people that were, condoning CPS being called, which, by the way, did Idubbbz even, I watched this video. It was an hour long, so I forget if it was exactly mentioned. It might have been a fleeting comment, but did Ian condemn the whole CPS thing? If he did, I missed it. But anyway, it must not have been a big point, because that is a huge point to the Klein family. Huge point. I know it'd be a huge point to me if CPS got called here and questioned my parenting and that my kids are interrogated. They had to go to the school to talk to one of the Klein's kids. Like, that's some pretty serious shit. So Ian is drawing things about, this isn't a one-to-one comparison. They're talking about one of Ethan's H3's critiques of individuals that they were talking about. But it's like, how are you not spelling out the level of friendship you guys had? The Kleins have said a number of times you've been over their house. Anisa and Ian have been over the Klein's house, seen their kids, seen how their house is, seen their state of life. And if they are at all friends with these individuals that are highly critiquing the Klein family of being poor parents, why don't they just give their honest opinion of saying, honestly, I don't want to pick sides, but I've been over the Klein's house a number of times, and I can't say I agree with anything that the detractors are saying about the Kleins. Or they could say, they're actually right. What we saw there, it was kind of suspect. It wasn't a healthy lifestyle to live in, to grow up in that house. But saying nothing when they're your personal friends that you've collaborated with on a number of videos, including a Content Cop, he kind of just, Ian just kind of spelled this out to his fans, he's just a guy, I appreciated his content. He made good content. He was free to do what he want, went after who he want, much like I can go after who I want. But man, when you start bullying people, that's where I draw the line. I'm not going to sit here. If you're going to bully people that we know, that me and my wife know, we're not going to stand up for it. But you're friends with him. I know that he stated that they were friends, but I don't think Ian really spelled out how often they made content together, how many times they've been over the house, see them raising their kids, seeing a stable household, or telling us it's an unstable household. Why does Ian give no opinion either way on that? And again, it was a long video. If he made it, it must have been a fleeting comment because it didn't stand out in my mind. But anyways, I'm old. Like I said, I'm 85 years old here. I think I just changed my age again. Anyway, that's the thing that I don't understand why that is glossed over so much in that Content Cop of how personal this was to the clients. Granted, I don't care. Both these channels sink and die off of the internet forever. I'm not sitting here and rooting for the Kleins to succeed here because I think they're going to turn around and start going after kissing prank videos and all that stuff again. I've given up on that, okay? So I don't have a horse to root for in this race. But when I'm going to look at this objectively and say what's fair is fair, the Kleins have every right to critique the people that were critiquing them for how they are raising their kids, for their style of life, for their household, etc. And if that's not mentioned, like, how can it not be? How can it not be? That is such a huge motivating factor of why things got so personal with the Kleins, because they weren't just attacking an opinion they had. Granted, they were also attacking opinions, the individuals that Ian and Anisa are standing up for. They were, those individuals were attacking Ian on a number of stances for Israel, a number of things Hila said about a nice guy that got fired in the Israeli command, who later turned out to be one of the butchers against God. Anyway, those were obvious valid points, and I'm not gonna knock anyone that's gonna pick them apart on any opinion stance they had as far as the Israeli-Palestine conflict goes, because I sit much more on the Palestinian side as well, and I obviously have beef with some of the things they have said, some of the stance they have, but again, the focal point here of what I had flaw-wise in Ian's content cop is the whole friend thing. And that's the thing. It really just seems like this video was made in the direction that Anisa wanted, not the direction that Ian wanted. And you can't tell me that any past content cop, you can't tell me it was made from a direction that Ian didn't want. Ian went every single direction, every content comp that he wanted to. He made the points that he wanted to. He made the jokes that he wanted to, uses the racial slurs, whatever, what have you, everything in between that he wanted to. This was a video about people that Anisa was friends with, that they openly admit they have either worked with or are currently working with. And I just see it as Anisa saying, like, you know what? Stick up for my friends, Ian. Come on. Because Ian has just been a ballless chud for years now. And this does nothing to dispel that belief in my mind that Anisa said, stick up for my friends right now, God damn it. Yes, ma'am, I will do as you say. I don't know how people watch this and say, Ian looks like the better guy in this. And again, that's not like I'm saying like, oh, Ethan is just this triumphant, victorious individual coming out of this. But this was embarrassing. This was just like that's the one word. This content cop was embarrassing. Because number one, he got rid of it, which he makes his words of why he got rid of content cop look just totally hypocritical. And two, it makes it look like, you know, he's just following the orders of his wife. Again, that's not like saying you have to disavow any advice your wife gives you. I'm not that much of a goddamn chauvinist. God, but still, it just looks like the narrative of his life is driven by his wife, and he's just so ballless. And as a viewer and a former supporter of Idubbbz, how could I watch that shit and say it was good? Just complete trash. Complete trash. Anyways, that's just my 2 thoughts about it. 2 thoughts about it, or is it 2 cents about it? Get it right, Archfiend. Anyway, what say you guys out there? By the way, new dog turned 12 the other day. Just want to throw that in. I just want to throw in a bit of good news. The prognosticator of all prognosticators. This ain't that stupid groundhog in Punxsutawney. This is the real predictor of champions. 6 out of 7 Super Bowls predicted just turned 12 on Tuesday, the 15th, tax day. He's born on tax day. Yeah, there you go. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but new dog was born on tax day. Turned 12. Talked on long enough. Have a good day, everyone. Is that how I end my videos? No, that's not it. That is all.